Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
What's going on, everybody? It is Dan French. It's Saturday, so you guys know what time it is. It's the French Workbench podcast today. Got a lot of good information. We got a full studio of people here today, and we're going to go right around the room, see what everybody's up to. You guys, this is the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs, through on-job experience and education here in Las Vegas. If you guys have not hit the like button, hit the like button for those of you that are waiting in the waiting room. And if you guys like the content throughout this show, please hit the content and subscribe to the channel. We need support. We need all that help we can get on this. We're shooting for 1,000. So
1,000.
1,000.
1,000
the
likes.
number, 1,000.
What are we gonna do, Dan? What
Oh,
are we gonna
We're
have?
not asking for much. I mean, a damn 1,000. If you can't even help us off, stop watching right now.
So
We gotta have some sort of like celebration event.
Yeah, we need a local
What are we
celeb,
gonna
man.
do?
Who can we
Like-
get?
Right. So let's introduce everybody here. We got Mr. Rick Raines. He's back from Atlas. What's going on, Rick? What's going on today, buddy?
Hey, everything's good. Everything's good. Glad to be here. Let's get it started.
What do you
Right.
got there on the desk?
He's
Like
got some
eviction
notes,
papers?
man.
What's
Hey.
going on there?
I got.
This is what preparation looks
Yeah,
like.
this is what preparation looks like.
Hey, you know what? He's prepared.
Hey, as long as
Hey,
you come
to
awake,
plan, plan to fail.
toothpaste free, you're good to
And
go, right?
Rick Raines,
Inside joke.
not only is he a big guy, but that's like a WWF wrestler name.
Rick Raines.
Dude comes down.
Show those guns, man. How old are you? I mean, you're
67, and this dude's
67.
Dude, you got bigger guns than
Bigger
me.
than
Let me
most
see that
20
again,
Dude, look
man.
at this.
Jesus.
That's my left arm. I don't want to scare you.
We got death and we got destruction right there, man.
I got
man.
that.
Got tickets to the gun show?
Preston, how are you doing today? Pipe on in.
Well, I'm feeling,
great to see
I'm
you.
feeling pretty small right now, sitting there with honestly. So
Preston's
Just
over there.
throwing all this masculinity around, man.
yeah, I just try to stay in my little spot over there.
Trying to keep the peace.
Preston's over there in the corner because he's flexing. He's got no
That's
room.
right, man.
Yeah, Rick, put it down, man.
Put it down, man.
So what's going on, man? What have you been up to, Preston? It's been a couple of weeks, man.
Yeah,
Anything
just,
new?
Anything? No, nothing new. Nothing new at all.
Nothing new at all, huh?
0.0 new. No, it's always moving and shaking and trying to see what's up. See what's
Moving
the
and
next
shaking.
See what's moving and shaking, right?
Yep,
Dude,
next
you're
deal.
all about crypto today, huh? You came in with your boxing gloves on with crypto or what?
Oh, I heard it was going to be a battle, so I'm ready. I'm ready.
Nothing to battle.
Oh, we're getting into crypto.
You're either in the
today?
ring or you're not. If you're in the ring, we're on the same team.
That's good. This
Trust
will be
me,
fun, though.
Brett, what's up, dude? I mean, did you get your red line today or what?
No.
What'd you get today, bud?
5-hour energy. I try to be
I
a
see.
little healthier.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Today's Brett brought to you by 5 Hour Energy.
So the coffee is my beer, and this is my shot.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you, man? Anything new?
Just finding dead bodies, man.
What?
You knew I was gonna lead with that.
What are you talking about?
Dude.
Where did this come from?
So
dude?
I live in Summerlin, and every morning my wife and I go running out in the desert at the very top of Alta in Summerlin, where they're putting all the new construction in.
Oh, yeah.
My wife
Oh,
went
yeah.
up there today by herself. I decided to go running on another trail more in Summerlin, and she calls me and says, "Hey, guess what? They found a body." I said, "What?" She was coming down the hill, and long and short of it, the cops, she was coming back from her run. It was all littered with cops. They had it taped off. They said, "Is this your Jeep?" She said, "Yes." Okay, we thought it and long and short of it, they
Hey,
found a body, and it's all taped
You know,
off.
the
so-
more you tell this story, the more I do think your wife, she wasn't involved at all. Happened to go down the wrong trail. Oh,
I think she might need an
Honey.
attorney.
just FYI.
It was a 40-year-old
I
bald.
found
Do you
this.
do
There you
murder
go.
cases pro bono?
No.
Oh.
Do it for the press. You
See,
gotta
I
do it for the
care
press.
for the right price.
It was a 40-year-old bald guy.
Yeah.
right?
Looked like Brad.
It's
what's going
it's
on.
her warning shot.
That's why he introduced it. I ran down the other path.
She just can't.
Anybody
She just can't
listening.
deal with my energy anymore. She's like, she needs to get that SOB off.
Yeah.
No, that's what's
I don't
happening,
blame
man.
that.
Crazy. I mean,
Crazy stuff's happening over next to your house.
So we'll
Where do
find
you
out-
live, bro?
Yeah.
Just like,
dude, I live in 89138 zip code, man.
Is there gonna be
Which
some
is
deals?
like
Is there
one of
gonna
the
be
best
some
zip codes. You know?
that's where they go to drop bodies.
Now they do.
Yeah.
I do have to
Now
say
they do.
that I've always thought about like.
I mean, I'm sure they did before. But.
I've never found a dead body.
Neither have
You
I.
always see it in the movies,
Really?
right? They're
Everyone-
walking
I
around.
know.
They're like,
I
oh,
find them all the time.
Yeah.
Just
call
like
the
left and right.
authorities.
All
I
right.
was one time I was doing this little job in Fresno, like construction job.
Yeah.
And we're at some elementary school, and the janitor shows us where the dumpster is to throw stuff out, right?
Like dead
And
bodies.
he says, "Oh yeah, yesterday morning we found a dead body in here." This is like on an elementary school. I'm like, it's Fresno. It's Fresno, California.
You're in
That's
the
about
wrong
right.
industry. Property management, 1 to 2 a year, easy.
Do you have to do yourself?
You're like, you're the one. Dude, I got that. That was my second year in the business.
Dead
man.
body and a half.
he's like,
That's your
they
That
average.
makes you a qualified veteran for it.
He's like, they haven't paid rent in the 3 months.
Oh, that's crazy. I bet you've seen all sorts of scenarios, huh, Rick? Jesus.
Man. So what's
right.
going on? We got to introduce here Joe Dragon. Joe, what's up, buddy? You're still in the camera, so move over a little bit side. People want to see that
I know,
handsome looking
sorry
face
about
over there, buddy. What's going on?
I'm doing great. See,
Yeah.
the problem is I sit over here, Dan, and then I can't. Well, you're in the way of the rest of the screen, but I don't need to look at that. So
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Everybody's
Just
seeing
trust
what's
us.
I'm
You
just
look
right
good.
at you right here.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to move around here. So what's going on in your world, man? Anything new? You anything happening?
Baby Dragon kept me up last night.
Yeah?
Till like 4, and which sucks because he's been great. That's his first mess up. But
Does he look like you, man? Like, is it features
hope
or is it
not.
more like that?
See, I was always burn. See, no, I don't think he does, and I was always concerned because when my wife told me she was pregnant,
Yeah.
I had just got out of the hospital for a week. That's a whole nother story. Preston was there. But and then she says,
Yeah, where
Wait.
Was he on the
Rewind.
other, was he
Like
on
a
the
real
other
friend.
side of the
Rewind.
Was he on the other side of the
how did
bed?
that
What's the
happen?
deal? Yeah.
"Oh, well,
Preston's the Godfather.
yeah,
When Joe calls, you answer.
yeah, exactly." What was I saying?
Listen, I
forget what
might
was
call
saying.
upon you someday for a favor. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. Anyways, so your baby kept you up?
Yeah,
First
I didn't know what I was getting into with the rest
how
of it. I
the kid
forget.
looks like
You.
maybe.
Oh, because I was concerned. I'm like, I was in the hospital for 7 days.
So you wanted to get a
Now,
paternity
now you're
test.
pregnant. Yeah. And now I'm like, he's got to have some of my features.
The kid's much too good looking.
Wait a second.
Exactly. Like, that's what's good.
That's that one night
But
with
the
a cool guy.
mailman, the UPS guy, that SOB.
Yeah, not UPS.
Baby
FedEx.
Dragon's gonna
Oh,
grow
FedEx.
up. My mom had a one night stand with a cool guy, right? It just
So
doesn't
I'm
look
over.
like me.
By the way, if that happens to you, a little fun fact, legal fact of the day.
Brett, move on.
I'm trying to get you because I'm not in that damn sorry.
If you're married and your spouse is less than faithful
Whatever.
and conceives with somebody else, but has the child when you're married, you are the father for life. Nothing you
That's
can do about
funny,
it.
man.
Nothing you can do about it.
Even if
so you're-
it
you
was
ha-
father, how
Like-
can it be fathered by someone else and you're the father?
No, legally he's talking.
No, because you're married to that person. If you're married.
But what if you don't identify as the father?
Oh yeah, I never thought about that. We'll have to get a case going.
Yeah.
I know what you're going with that. Yeah,
Yeah, see what I've done here?
yeah.
All right, let's get into the
Anyhow,
show.
sorry,
let's get
go.
into the show. All right, guys. So we're gonna talk
Interest
today.
rates. Let's roll.
We're going to talk about $15,000 first-time homebuyer credit being introduced, and we want to talk about that with first-time homebuyers. We had this happen back in 2008. We're also going to talk with Rick about the moratorium and what's changed here on Thursday and what's going on in the rental sector or the rental areas of Las Vegas and property management, right? And then
Right.
we're going to also talk with Bret, and we're going to have a nice conversation at the end about where the cryptocurrency is headed and also what you guys think about cryptocurrency. And maybe we'll even put in a little bit of information with the housing market. Bret, you can kind of help with that as well. And so we got a full show. So let's get right into it. They have a first-time homebuyer credit that was introduced. And the impact on this, back in 2007 and 8, they did have this where once you got into a home, you got a tax credit the following year where you got that money back. And they're going to try to do this again. They've put this out saying that you're going to get now $15,000. That's double.
Oh, the housing.
Yeah, the first-time homebuyer
So
credit.
break it down. How's it work this time?
Well, I don't know all the facts, but
Okay.
how it worked before is you would have to pay it back over so many years. So
Yep.
you got it. If you were a family of, let's say you were married, then you'd get a little bit less. If
Yeah.
you were a first-time home buyer, what it does is it promotes first-time home buyers to go out there in the market. Now, the question is with this market and where it's headed, and also with the shortage of inventory.
Why do we keep incentivizing here?
Yeah, is it really going to impact, if they pass it, will it impact the market, right? And so what do you think, Rick? You remember this, right? Back in 2007 and 8, when they did have that tax credit for first-time home buyers, they're talking about passing this. I feel that first-time home buyers are just really pushed out of the market. How is this going to help them, you know?
Well, it's going to help them, but you're right in that they're pretty much pushed out of the market. So is it going to make that huge of an impact? You're going to have a lot of people. Back in the day, there was a thing called looky-loos. That was a big advertising thing. So you're going to have a lot of looky-loos out there spinning agents' wheels, and they're going to have a tough time qualifying unless they go through guaranteed grade.
Right.
There we go.
Well, and that's right. I mean, that's a good plug right there. So if you guys want to know where I work,
What do you do?
right? But I mean, you think about it. Look, people are saying, well, this is going to help first-time home buyers. Maybe in other locations, I think. But in Vegas, is this going to really help first-time home buyers if they pass
I can see it helping in the sense of, first of all, is there a cap on it?
It's $15,000. So they're
No, I'm
cap
saying
on
is it
income.
on income, or is there a cap on what you can buy?
I don't
for a
know about
purchase price?
that whole.
Okay,
so
well, I'm
look
saying
it
that
up.
for a reason, because say you're in that
I'll
price
look it
point
up.
of like
Yeah,
500,
the
600,
technology.
650, something like that, right?
Right.
And, you know, things that are everything and a bag of chips are selling over list price. So in a sense, I can see it helping where hey, that's 15 grand that I can now allocate towards paying over list, or to, you know, close off that difference between the appraisal to get that property.
Right.
So is it really in your best interest because you've got to make up for it in the next 2 years? I mean, if home prices keep going up, and but what if they go down? I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't
But,
hurt, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
just-
saying. So when you're talking about a situation like that, it could probably help because you're allocating that 15 grand towards.
So let's get out the details to answer your question.
Okay.
Must be a first-time home buyer. Must not have owned a home in the last 36 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Must not exceed income limitations for the area. I don't know what that means.
That's what we need to figure that part of it
well,
out.
that's just legal bullshit.
Limitations for
It is.
They're basically saying they don't know. Like, figure it out.
Because they've done programs like this in the past where they said same thing, but it was only certain zip codes.
Must be
that you
purchasing
could do it
a
at,
primary
you know?
residence.
Okay.
Not a second home. Must be at least 18.
And first-time home buyer, right?
It must be
So-
purchasing a home from a non-relative.
Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Here's what I think is going to happen. Is it going to make a big impact? Yes. Where? On the lower end of the market. So one of the things I researched is what are the sale prices going for right now? So as an example, you can buy a condo, the low end of the condo that's on the MLS this week, 67 grand. Low end single family residence, 40,000. Low end townhome, 85,000. That's what's on the list. So the point being is, if you're a first time home buyer and you're just looking to get in and buy instead of renting,
Right.
there's lots of properties out there that you can get into, but you're probably not going to get into the $400,000 and $500,000 houses because you're not going to qualify.
Well, right.
But so that's going to help push the lower end of the market, maybe even push the lower end up a little bit.
And
Those
a tax-
ones you mentioned, are they cash, or can you get a loan on them?
Where is this lower end of the market?
Because that's what I'm saying is, if they're cash, then it doesn't matter if you know, because you got to get a loan. So
you
and
don't.
and I think that
No,
anything
you don't.
in a lower price, what's that?
It's just a first-time home buyer. You don't need to have a mortgage on it. But probably if you're a first-home time buyer, you're not sitting on $200,000
yeah.
cash.
Okay, well,
Okay,
all right.
sorry for the minor correction.
No,
Continue. Brett.
you're right.
Why did I bring attorney?
You're
on this,
technically
guys?
right. Yeah.
Why did we
All
bring
I'm doing
attorneys
is
on?
reading the thing, man.
That's why we have an attorney on to spell check me.
That way he can analyze and see what somebody's
Well,
doing wrong.
point being is I think anything in below 400,000 is going to be ate up by cash buyers going over list anyways.
Do you object to that?
So I
Preston?
think you're going to have a harder buyer pool to go against there than you would the 5 or 6, even though the 5 or 6 is still going to be tough. But then you're right. I mean, are they going to qualify for the 5 or 6? I mean, it's one might wash the other out. You know.
And the tax credit, I mean, that's the best because it could actually put you in the green on the refund. So when you're in that situation, you're thinking, oh, I'm throwing down this payments for the mortgage, but I get to take 10 grand on the return, and then it's like a wash. So it may be incentivizing.
It doesn't hurt
for somebody who's just looking in the short term.
It doesn't hurt. You might as well try it if you can. I mean, why would you not?
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I'm
the
seeing.
effectiveness of it, I don't know. I mean, none of us know until
Makes
it
you
starts
wonder how many
happening.
people are actually able to use it.
Yeah, but I mean, I hope it does, man.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants.
Running at altitude's got a
wants
good
money,
question right here. He says, how do you have to be in the home before selling for the tax credit?
Yeah.
Forever. You can never sell, actually.
Well, I have a seller coming up right now that did that program in 2018, and she has to repay everything.
2008.
I mean, it was 2008?
2008.
Okay, I'm sorry. There was one in 2018 that they did another one where she had to pay it back.
Well,
Like,
they had
so
to
it's 2
pay
years
these
later.
back too. They have to pay
Yeah,
this
but it
back
was
too.
in like such
years,
a short
right?
amount of time.
I think it was 2 years.
Was it? Well,
Yeah.
she's selling. I mean, no, she's selling it. It had to be within a certain number of years, but she's selling it before that number's up, so
Oh.
she has to like
Okay.
repay it all off. Anyways,
Will this impact the first time home buyers though? Production not production, but the opportunities for them to go out and buy a home. I think that's the question. Is yes, it's enticing. Is it going to motivate people? Sure, but is it really going to put?
I think the market was 10 times more in a buyer's favor in 2008.
That's what I'm saying. It's not
use it then
a
than
buyer's
now.
market. So if you're introducing this into a seller's market, what's the impact on that?
Well, what can it hurt? What can it hurt? I mean,
You
know,
it could just go straight up to,
yeah. I mean,
you're handing
will
it
it be
over to
effective? I don't know.
listener.
I mean, demand always takes care of itself, but
Well, who's going to be paying for that money, right? Is it just
We
money-
have these.
just go right into the seller's
it just
hands,
appeared. They just got to print more.
Yeah.
The money printer. They just hit it. Goes,
They don't
prints
need
more
to,
money.
They don't need to print anything. They go in their computer. and
Cryptocurrency.
just change the number.
Yeah.
Enter. We don't even have to waste paper doing it.
That's the best.
You're right. They don't even print it.
This
They
is
just hit a
America.
number. It goes in the
Come on.
goes in the
Just-
database
just
on the
the
computer.
balance sheet. It's great.
We just have more money because
our debt has increased in the last 10 years. I think
Keep the party going.
430% roughly.
You guys want to talk about the debt? Is that what we're
No, we're not going to go off that, but I'm just saying that's just crazy how you're bringing that up. How they push a button.
It's
We're still on the topic here of that first time home buyer credit and how it would impact Las Vegas. Do you really think it's going to have an impact at all? And we can go around the room. We can talk about
TBD.
I don't think it's going to have an impact, man. I think it's going to be. Look,
I don't think it is either, but I'm willing to
Negligible.
say
Probably negligible for a lot of people in the market.
Maybe-
I like that word too.
maybe
Negligible.
maybe in another location.
welcome. You can
Maybe
use
like
that.
in
I
a
mean,
different.
grasshopper.
It's definitely going to have an impact. The question really is it that noticeable? And I think that's what we're saying. It's like,
What do you think, Rick? You think it's
No.
going to have a huge impact or
No,
not at all?
it's not going to have a huge impact.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so.
But it sounds great, right?
So why would we actually say this to say, you know what? It sounds great, right?
That's it
Optics.
Is
right
it
there.
is it more for just to say, look,
Appearances?
yeah.
This
is
is what
is that
people
it is?
listen to the show for. They want to hear us cut through the bullshit and know it's all optics, and we're showing them behind the scenes, right?
Right. But
are
I'm
you
just
talking about Preston? Yes, I
Why do you
I
guys
think
keep like sliding around?
Well, dude, I'm off the screen on that one. I'm looking at it. You have all 5 of us.
Brett, go that way,
yeah.
Dude, I'm
and then turn the mic. that
okay.
way.
I understand, but look at me on the screen.
I do
Okay.
think it's going
Dude,
to impact.
It's your show, man.
Losing train of thought here. These guys are distracting me. It
I
is
know.
going to
Have
because
us in
this.
court.
Honestly, I think this happens. I mean, obviously, if you're a new buyer, right, you don't have a ton of money, and getting a big tax credit, when you purchase a house, has a lot of motivation because when you're young, you do tend to think a lot more short-term kind of ideas, make the payment day to day. So I think that's why they introduced it. That's why it got passed. And let's face it, that administration needs to promise. That's one of the promises to try to fix this housing problem. That's what he campaigned on. So
Yeah.
he's trying to push it that way.
I think home affordability is a problem.
Yeah,
though.
there's not a housing problem. It's a home affordability
and I'll
problem.
tell you that you can give somebody 15K.
Which is because we don't have enough houses.
Well,
If you
it's
do
true.
the economic science behind it.
Well,
Well,
supply
lumber's
and
coming
demand.
down. Lumber's coming down. I saw something, a headline. That was
numbers
gonna say,
aren't
like-
going down.
I said lumber.
Oh, I'm
Lumber.
sorry. I'm sorry for jumping over
Lumber.
Preston. You
Thank
just
you,
can
thank
really get on my nerves
So-
sometimes.
It's my face, isn't it? I know.
I love it and I hate it at the same time. I
so
don't know how to
I heard-
describe it.
It's a millennial.
I was gonna
Speak
say, like-
up. Speak up.
Yeah, enunciate, sir.
here's your trophy.
The oppressive Rick Raines strikes again.
Respond to my point. What were you saying?
Well, now that
Tax
Rick's coming
credit.
up, so like, oh no, I was saying that the lumber. Has
Oh, yeah,
come down.
lumber.
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't saying anything about
The
that.
hardwood.
So yes, that's coming down, and it's going to drop houses on like 40,000.
40 grand
Right.
cheaper to build.
That was just some headline I read. I didn't really fact check.
Yeah,
it,
By
the
a
builders
By
rose
when?
all their prices.
it's already
By when?
come way down. It's already come way
Raised.
down.
Well, you said it will decrease by 40 grand to build. How big of a house and when?
That's like an average across.
Average.
Average across.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious. I got hard questions for you. You know.
I know, and I
don't
told
sit
you,
in
I read
that
a
seat
headline.
and think like we're not going to get drilled.
So it's 70% less. So take whatever price home, whatever they were sticking in lumber before, and minus 70%. Yeah, lumber's down 70% from its high.
Which is now it's
There
like
you go.
still high though.
But dude, it went up like 300%. So
Right.
it's still up like 200%.
Right. But we knew this was going to happen.
And 80%
right?
of stats are made up anyway.
Yeah.
So
There you go. Only 50%
I'm
of the time.
all right, guys. I'm going to propose because you're an investor, right? We kind of talked about this. Okay. Bear with me, Dan. Here's a question.
I'm hearing you.
My in-laws, when I first met my wife, Preston knows about this too. Their house got burnt in a California fire. They were in Sonoma County back in 2017, right? Fortunately, they had a bunch of insurance, so they were able to rebuild. But if you go to that neighborhood and they're like twice a year, you still see lots completely vacant when this fire came through, right? I've been thinking, and I want to get some perspective here, because there's like 40 lots now. It's been 4 years since that happened, and then the prices have been going down on the lots, right? What about an investment opportunity of trying to purchase some of these lots and holding on to them for a year or two? Lumber goes down, build and flip.
I would say, are they in a HOA community or anything?
Yes.
So a lot of new communities have rules where they say you need to build within a year.
yeah,
So I would check that number one.
Okay. All
That
right.
would probably be the most important thing, because if there's not a timeline, then
you can hold on
not
to
a
it.
bad idea. Yeah, then hold on to it. But a lot of builders will purposely have that in there so that
Well, then you got to look at what's the cost of violating that rule, though.
You tell me.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. This is the type of things we're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm just curious,
that would be the number one objection. That I
because
would
this is
look
a
for
very
first.
high-end zip code, right?
Yeah, that's what I would do. So they have money to fight you back. That's the thing about rich people.
Sandbaggers.
every time.
It's not hard to fight someone who doesn't have any money.
Yeah. Well, there's a way to handle that. Sometimes you just.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that would probably be the number one
Right,
thing.
gotcha.
That's the number one thing I would look for.
Okay. Well, we took real estate show, so I was just curious because
Yeah.
that was something I looked at. We
Look
talked to
for that.
Preston about it before. But anyhow, Dan, how we doing?
Good.
We want to keep talking about the housing credit, or you want to move on to?
No, we can keep talking about it. So let's talk about what's happening with the impact that it would have on first-time home buyers, right? So if you're out there buying a home and let's say the market right now is, $450,000, right? Let's say it's for a new home, right? First-time home buyers. Is somebody going to be able to get into a home like that using that first-time home buyer
New
credit?
homes a lot closer to like 550.
$550,000.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I guess okay, maybe take that back. 450. There might be a few left.
Aren't they moving
Yeah.
more towards like townhome type setup? Like,
Yeah.
that's just how you
So
gotta
if you're talking about like a
maximize it right now.
townhome or something, yeah, then you're more. You could be even 350.
What
400.
were the stats you had, Rick? On the
Well, that's what I brought up last week, is whether or not the builders would start condensing and making smaller
you
properties
gotta
in order to be able,
pencil.
in order for people to be able to afford it.
Just maximize
I brought
it.
that up last week.
And people are kind of getting.
I
used
think
to
they
much
should as
less
far as to
things.
diversify, but they don't really need to financially right now because they're selling residential. But if you want to diversify and think about the future and say, hey, things are going well now, but they might simmer down, then I would do it.
So I guess it's like, well, is it something that's not? I wouldn't say it's bad advertisement to somebody, but do you have to set that expectation if you're a real estate agent or somebody out there that's saying, you know what?
Absolutely.
Because look, if you're saying, well, I got $15K and everybody's like, you know what? Come to me. If you're a first-time home buyer, we'll get you into a home, $15K. I'm not saying you can't get into a home. That's not what I'm saying. But
Is it to your standard?
is
your
it?
liking?
Yeah. Is it realistic? Like, let's really set the foundation of what's happening.
Is it what the buyer has in mind?
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
too, expectation for if you do get it. What if you're competing against somebody that's got cash? Like if I'm a
I know
seller,
that's why we're saying we don't think it's going to have that much of an
Okay.
impact.
Yeah.
because you're getting. I mean, there's still cash saturated buyers.
well, there's cash, but
You
let's
know,
say if
and
you're putting a
that-
large
especially
down
that price point.
Let's say if somebody's moving from a state, this might be an opportunity for somebody in Las Vegas to say, you know what, this might be my shot to get into a home. But again, it's going to come down to two things: what are you buying, right, and home affordability. Like if you can't afford the home that you're getting into.
Yeah.
Just because you got the 15K
So-
credit, then what do you do?
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that was the consensus. I mean,
And is
we'll
it just
have an effect,
15K
but
across the board? Like this is the same for in the middle of Kansas as it is for New York City.
Yeah, it's just a
right.
federal thing, yeah.
So you could. This is we're talking specifically. We're hyper focused on Vegas, but this is actually probably going to help a lot more people. In
And
the
that's what
rural
I was
areas and
thinking,
stuff
like,
that.
yeah,
Now that I
like-
think about it, I'm a little self-centered here. Thinking I'm the center of
Kansas,
the world.
Nebraska, high in demand state, so I get that.
Just go buy a rental property, right?
yeah, exactly.
I was looking at an area, just what prices were like in a rural town in northern Idaho.
Yeah.
And you can get the same, what's a 2,600 foot house here?
Depends what year and what neighborhood.
Okay, but average for.
I mean, you're probably looking at 400 to 450.
So
in
the
a
average
decent
square
location.
foot here is say 227. So take that times 2,500 square feet.
Yeah. My point is that this town you can get like
227 is average per square foot. You said.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
you can get a
Something like that,
2,500 square foot house for 150. Just a
Well,
crazy
look,
difference.
The big thing is this: is this is a seller's market. So if we were in 2007,
And like an acre land.
we had
Yeah.
a ton of properties on the market, right? We had a ton of properties that were to choose from. We don't have that anymore. So since it's a seller's market, will this really impact buyers? I mean, it will, especially if you're short on funds. But I mean, in this market, you know, the buyers aren't willing to, or the sellers aren't willing to pay for any closing costs, right? And so you got to come in and you got to pay for most of that as well, anyways. So I don't know how much impact it's really going to have when it's a seller's market
It's
like this.
sprinkles on, you know.
It is.
If you can look at it that way. It's
Would you pitch that, Brett? Would you pitch, hey, you know what? Let's get the first-time homebuyer program, and you can get $15,000, and you know what? You know, we'll use this as a vehicle to get people excited. I think it's getting people excited about buying.
Well, I
a
mean,
home.
I think where there's a will, there's a way. And if you really want to buy a house and you're willing to be realistic, I mean, I think where it really comes into play is the buyer being on the same page as you as far as realistically what that is.
Yeah.
So between this price point and this price point in these areas,
And-
here's what we're looking at.
And again, it's really dependent on who the buyer is, right?
Yeah.
If you're a two household and combined income $75,000, right? And they go get a tax credit, so you're looking at your return plus $15,000. You get taking home $25,000 in April. I mean, that's half a salary almost. So that is going to make a big deal. The question is though that Dan brings up: what good is that if somebody else has cash and you're trying to compete with them?
Well,
They're
I
just
would
gonna,
I would
they don't
say
care.
if you can pay your own closing costs, and you know we're not going to have any issues with the loan and all that stuff, then I would say, and you're realistic. As long as you're willing to get at that property right away, write offers right away, and be aggressive on everything, I'll write 20 offers for you. You know, because you're going to get one accepted.
right.
So no problem on my end.
I think it's more of a tactic to
you've
get
got to be
people
willing
excited.
as the buyer to really give me all out, not give me, but give your
right,
chance
and so
yourself to be all
with
out.
Dan's question to you, that kind of makes sense though, because this is something that you would pitch or whatever. I mean, that makes sense though. If you would explain it that way, look, you would get this much in April.
I think it's a
Or
great.
what- or
I
when-
think it's a great advertising tool. For
and
a
then
realtor,
you tell
know?
your client at the same time, but you got to hustle, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because of the
say, hey, listen, if this can make a difference to you, then I'm willing to
Now's your
work
window.
my
Now's your
ass
window.
off for you 7 days a week. But you got to be willing to run full force with me.
Right.
If you're willing to run full force with me and you really want a house, damn it, we'll get you a house.
We'll get you a house.
It's
and
cool.
We'll get you
but
some
you've got to
finan-
have certain prerequisites that we're on the same page with.
Well, yeah,
You
but
know?
that's my point though. You're getting more than just a house in that scenario for the lower income situation.
Will this push buyers into buying homes now? Is it going to motivate more buyers out there to go out and buy a home?
I don't know, man.
What do you think?
The mental defeat of buyers right now,
That's what I'm saying. They're defeated, right?
they're defeated.
Home affordability is
So
not
I
working.
get it. You know,
but it
Brett,
would be
question.
so. Oh, I'm sorry.
How many people are you showing around that just get deal fatigue, that are just like tired of shopping? Is there a client
not
like that a
not
lot,
many
or
not
much?
many more because I'm pretty good at fielding that out ahead of time
Right.
and knowing who to spend my time with and not
Right.
who to spend my time with.
Well, are you hearing it from like other colleagues or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
well, yeah. I
Or
mean,
just,
the
like-
newer agents who aren't necessarily as
Yeah,
good as
well-
vetting or whatever. Yeah, man, they're running their tails off for,
yeah, absolutely.
and that's why I vet the people the way I do.
yeah, absolutely. That's,
Yeah.
I just didn't know if there's
You
got to
know?
be a handful of people.
I have
that
no
are just,
problem
like,
working
sick
my
of
tail
this.
off for someone. I don't care if you're 2 million or if you're 250,000.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me. It's just we need to be on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
know?
let's say you go to a client and you say this is what the expectation is, and they're like, you know what? And I know you say the same page,
Mm-hmm.
but they really want to work with you, and you're like, you know what? I want to get a house at 450, and they're now 2 months in and they don't have an offer yet accepted, just because it's just maybe that's unrealistic for whatever they're trying to get into. Maybe they're just getting beat out. Are you still going to have that same drive? I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
as a
it's
buyer, though, as a
but
buyer.
listen, dude, I'm not gonna let it get to the point where we're 2 months in.
Okay.
Like it's
Well,
Nobody keeps going to, like, if you're doing
buyers get
full,
discouraged though, Brett.
I understand, but if you're going full price, maybe $5,000 over, whatever it is, and sooner or
you're
later,
just saying
if
2
we're going at 2 months, and
you're saying 2 months, you're not being realistic at that point.
yeah.
You gotta look inward,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So step number 1, being on the same page, is not being applied.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If we're going 2 months.
What do you think, Rick? You think that this is really going to push buyers into the
It's
buying
gotta
a
be
home?
in the rental market, right? Like, for
Well,
sure.
I think that yes,
Gotta be super
the answer
depressing.
is yes, but we're still back at the same position, and I do think that the buyers are going to get discouraged if they can't get in.
Correct.
I mean, everybody. It happens
They
to
do,
everybody.
absolutely.
They're going to get beat down, and I think that Preston brought up earlier is that it's not. This program may not impact Vegas as much as it does other areas of the country. And maybe in other areas of the country and small towns or wherever where the real estate market isn't as strong, that it's going to make a huge difference to them. But
And I mean, what do you think, Rick? I mean, part of that, I don't know how you do your job, Brett, but part of that too is you're saying, what's your price, right? What's your budget? And they go, it's between this and this and top. But and then it's something like, well, you're getting $15,000 on top of that. Do you want to be more aggressive with this tax credit?
See, and people
Right, and that's kind of how it plays in, because now you can up your ceiling, which is Congress is trying
that's
to
what
get
I'm
you
saying.
to do.
Yeah, you're just allocating.
Yeah, you can look at it as you get the refund, or you can look at it as more spending power.
Yeah, but it's also too they get it through a tax credit at the end. They don't get it right away.
Yeah.
So it's something.
Yeah, but
you
if
have
you break it down for them like that, understand this is coming, right?
right.
Unless, go ahead.
What were you gonna say? Oh, I thought you were gonna say something, Brett. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say.
No, you
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, I don't remember.
Let's talk about this. So let's go
big
to a
mind
different.
fart.
We all
Bitcoin
agree
fixes
though.
this.
We all agree the fact that this is going to have some slight impact in Vegas, but not a big impact. And is it
I'm
really
more
gonna,
curious-
There's slim pickings out there. So you think that you're going to get into a home right away? And I'm not saying that you can't. Don't think that we're not telling you to go out and try to get a home using this credit. But what we're saying is have proper expectation put in front of you.
Yeah.
And understand the process of what you're up against, because there's a lot of buyers out here that are coming from other states throwing $100,000 $200,000 down on a house, and they got no problems getting into a home. And if I'm a seller, it's not saying that you're a bad person using that $15,000 tax credit, but I'm going to look at my biggest and best offer and also the smoothest transition. And I'm not saying that that's going to be a problem, but man, if somebody's got more money to work with,
well,
they got better credit and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Well, it's frustrating. This is an example of a lot of times the government wants to, which is good, use tax incentives to do things. But what they're trying to do here is help new home buyers, right? But what I don't see is any kind of rush to actually create new land development, new like residential development that's actually going to drive prices down. And that's like they're manipulating the market. But I think the fact of the matter is, no, it's not going to have, as we said, a huge impact because it goes to everybody. So it raises that spending power, but
then
everybody gets it.
what if the government gave a credit to builders and land developers?
I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Because
but
that's going to
But
decrease.
how does that look
But that's
publicly?
giving
It looks
money.
like this.
I was just
Some
waiting for
some
that. I was
rich
like,
some
oh,
rich
this will be fun.
person.
No. It looks
gets
like this.
the tax credit for.
No. Here's the thing.
Good luck selling that one and
No,
getting
but
reelected.
talk to
You could
any
change it for, like,
contractor.
certain size developers potentially. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for smaller form
And talk
developers.
to any contractor, and the truth is, this is a saturated market. They're trying to undercut bids as much as they can, otherwise won't get the project. Even when demand's really high, it's still a saturated market.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you do a tax cut to that means they can drop their bid price, which means they can sell it for less. In theory, of course.
Running at Altitude's got a question here, and it's a good question. If the credit bill passes, how long do you have to purchase a home before the program expires? Did they say anything in that information that we had on this? Because
stand by.
a lot of this information is just relatively new.
So
and-
basically, how long does the program last?
yeah, before it
And so
expires.
I'm assuming so whatever that expiration date is, as long as you're in contract before that. So you don't
Yeah,
have
but-
to necessarily close. I'm
Probably just
assuming,
a year
but as
end
long
or
as you're in
something,
contract,
some sort of year end. I mean,
Probably
I
a
would
year.
probably say year end.
year end.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's another tactic. You look
We're
at
looking
it.
it up. Stand by.
I don't think they would ever give that credit though to builders, and I mean, I know it's a crazy and it's a novel concept over there, but
they know
it's
the
not.
builders won't
I didn't
No.
suggest it, dude. I'm telling you, it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work, but also too
As a PR
The part of it,
Yeah, long.
the part of it is to promote first-time home buyers. It's not to promote builders, right? That would promote builders at that point, I think, to entice them to go and use them. You know what I mean? So they already
Well-
have that with. I mean, builders are already giving stuff out anyways, right? They're giving out credits. They're giving out things.
People wouldn't understand it.
It would just
You're
be
exactly
a,
They
right.
wouldn't understand
it would
all it does
be
is confusing.
determined.
to be determined.
I mean, they're fighting over it.
Yeah, so basically,
Hell
it's
of
not
an
passed.
answer.
But if it passes,
That's
we'll
our
see.
Hey, it's
government.
not passed yet.
To end this part of our segment here, though, I want to say this: it won't impact Las Vegas as it will impact other cities, like you said, Rick, and like you said, Preston, because I think Vegas is an exception to how things run here. This is a desirable place to be, and I think it's going to be for the foreseeable future. It's going to be that way. You know, I don't feel like it's ever going to taper off.
Yeah.
So let's go into talk with Rick. I want to talk with Rick about what's happening with the moratorium and the evictions. There's some news that came out on Thursday, and it's an update. It's a big update. So I wanted to talk with him about what happened on Thursday, what was passed, and how is this going to affect landlords.
Okay, on Thursday, the government, actually, the Supreme Court came down and said no way on the moratorium, the CDC moratorium. So that ended immediately, which means that from a federal standpoint, when it comes to both foreclosures and evictions federally, those are both back on the books. Now, I just wanted to bring up that there are still 7 states that have some sort of eviction moratorium or foreclosure moratorium. And only 3 states have both. And anybody want to guess what the 3 states are that still have?
California, Nevada. Nope. All right. California, New York.
New Jersey.
Wow, that's
And New
basically
Jersey.
New York.
And,
So California, New York, and New
DC,
Jersey.
And other
DC.
New York.
Yeah, and DC. So they still have both going on. There's still one hurdle left here in Vegas, in Nevada. Anybody want to guess who's still protected or who you can't evict on?
Would it be, I would say, handicap
I was
assistance?
gonna say,
Anybody? The answer is anybody who has got an application in for federal funding for reimbursement on their rents. So the CHAPS program.
The CHAPS program.
So if they've got an application in, they're still protected. But everybody else, good to go.
Wow.
good to go.
Good to go.
It's such a romantic, Rick. Talk more like that.
Whisper in my ear.
Right. So what do you see right now with the rental sector as far as, is there properties, are people struggling still to find a place to rent? Because look, everybody's not going to move out here and buy a house, and we get it. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense.
Are we gonna see, you think the rental market free up a little bit
so-
with some evictions, or is it gonna just be more of the same stuff?
Okay, so I've got a little thing here I wanted to address that directly, but also feed off of last week.
Okay.
So last week I talked about owners and how you control your costs on your agreements. And I want to thank all the owners that called into my office. We were able to help some of them. If there's anybody else out there, take a look at your agreements, give us a call.
Excellent news.
Second, one of the things is, as you all know, every real estate agent makes a ton of money, hand over fist, from the first day that they get in the business until the day that they leave. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's what the general public thinks.
Undisputed fact number 1.
Except the first 2 years I stayed in a budget suites here. Other than that, some $50,000.
I'm leading into this because I wanted to give you some statistics, and this is for the listeners. 50% of the people that get into the real estate business are out in the very first year. 50%.
Yeah.
We have 20,000 realtors that are part of the MLS, which means that 10,000 of them are leaving in their first year. 20% are leaving in their second year. By the end of the 5th year, almost 95% of the people that started are gone.
Why by the 5th year?
By the 5th year.
I've been doing this 16 years. Anyways.
So you're one of the you're one of the 5%. I'm one of the 5%. Here,
For punishment.
hey.
Exactly.
So why is it that these people are leaving? Why is it that realtors get out of the
Because
business?
it's like a side hustle for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, the reason it stays a side hustle is because they're not making any money. All right.
Work one
So
day a
this
week,
is an
yeah.
important point, and the important point to this is, Dan asked me last week, how can renters secure properties faster? Okay. And this is where I'm leading, because it's counterintuitive. So if you want to be the first person to know about a property do not contact a property manager because they're only interested in the very few properties that they have available. The people that you want to be calling are sales agents that are first and second year in the business that are frickin' struggling to hold on. They're going to do any and everything they can to stay in the business, and they're going to be willing to show you.
I 100% concur with you. Absolutely.
I love that take too.
That's real and it's truthful, dude.
And maybe they get this. They'll work their ass off because they hope
They absolutely
because,
will.
because
Guarantee they
hope
will,
in-
dude.
They hope in the
Absolutely.
future to get
Hungry, dude.
get a sale from
Hungry.
you. So what I'm trying to tell you is contact large real estate offices and specifically ask for new agents. And once you find one, what they can do is they're going to set you up on a search through the MLS. They're going to put your parameters into the back end, and it's going to email you as soon as a property that comes into your specifications, and you can then get a hold of this agent who doesn't have to do anything except take you out and show you the property, and that's all they have to do. Give you the card, and you're going to head over to the property manager, fill out the app, and done. So it's low risk for them. They don't have to do anything. You can control it, and you want to get a hold of new agents. So it's counterintuitive. On the other side.
So I'm sorry. How does this is a naive question? How does the new agent get paid in that transaction?
So they get paid from a referral fee from the property manager for bringing a
It's
qualified.
like $300.
I thought it was
200, 300 bucks.
It
based
depends
on
on
the
what.
house.
Yeah,
Well,
it
but
depends
you,
on the
but you
house.
also have to look at too that what if you develop a relationship with that person when they're ready
Exactly.
to buy, then you buy down the
Dude,
road.
So
yeah,
it keeps
that's-
on
I was
it keeps
just
on giving you if you
clarifying
do
that.
it right.
So we have
Yeah.
over the years we have
95% of agents don't think like that. Apparently.
They don't. Dude, you'd be surprised.
They want to eat fast.
So I'm still here out of default. Sorry, not because I'm brilliant.
No. Yeah.
Hard
Sorry,
work, right?
sorry, Rick.
I just
okay.
don't understand. No, go ahead. Sorry.
over the years we've actually in a way sponsored many realtors this way that have been able to stay in the business, and then eventually we never hear from them again because they've got their sale business going. It usually takes 2 to 3 years. All right. So on the flip side, again, counterintuitive. If you're an investor, you don't want to be going to a sales agent. Okay. Why? If you pick up the phone, who are you going to get? The 50 to 70%, they're going to be out. They don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
They're the first year. Who do you want to get a hold of? You want to get a hold of a property manager to buy your property because they're not going to blow smoke up your skirt
They gotta
and
deal with
tell
it.
you, and especially if you get a property manager that you're going to use. Now he has a vested interest in making sure that what you get is going to pay out the way you think it's going to, as opposed to an agent who is dire for food money, who's going to tell you anything that
Whatever you wanna hear,
whatever
yeah.
you want to hear,
Absolutely.
so that you buy. So just this last week, we had this scenario happen.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just trying to follow you. Quick question.
Yeah,
You contact the property manager to
purchase
for
your investment.
and that's because the property manager is,
Going to tell you the truth.
and the motivation from the property manager is because you're taking a cut on that rent, and so you need it to be
Reason
what
is
you
Right,
say.
so-
the managers understand how the books are
how it
supposed to
works.
look. So they
So
know what
let-
they can get for the rent. They know
Because,
what they're
because
gonna be
in
able to
reality,
balance the budget.
they could terminate that manager at some point.
Right,
So they want to
but-
make sure they get what they're buying, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, let me give you an example. So just this last week, actually it's been 3 weeks ago, owner calls up, had an outside agent, not one of our guys, sell him this property. 1.2 million. All right, 1.2 million. And the agent tells him how much he's going to be able to rent this place for, and he throws in furniture on the deal. So agent basically puts furniture in the house so that whoever is going to rent it, it's already furnished for them.
Gotcha.
But he tells them a price that's literally $1,000 more a month than he can possibly get. Makes the deal. Now we've got the property, and we keep telling him, you got to bring it down, you got to bring it down, you got to bring it down
For what he's trying to get for rent.
for what he's trying to get on rent. And the other problem is that how many people are going to move into a $1.2 million house and not have their own furniture?
Yeah.
All right. So he's got another problem. So the point I'm trying to make is when you buy an investment property, get a hold of a property manager, go through the guy that's going to end up taking care of it for you so that you get the straight scoop and you know exactly how it is that it's going to end up. So it's counterintuitive. And you want a property manager that has a lot of experience, okay, for investment. And on the rental side, you want a sales agent that doesn't know anything, that's working, that needs any business that he can get. So Now to answer your question quickly on what's happening in the rental market. This last week, which I found really interesting, condos expanded over 5%, single-family residence over 5%, and overall the rental market went up 2%. So we lost in what I call all other, which is triplexes, fourplexes, duplexes, apartments. They went down almost 36% just over this last week.
You talk about the sales
Are you
price.
talking about availability?
Yeah, just the number of properties that are on the market.
Okay. So absorption, right?
Right. So we went from 1065 to 1087, a 2% increase, and that's how it went out. And as far as the sales market, we went up almost 1% for the week, and that was almost all in. It was all in single-family residence. So
it's pretty stagnant.
Pretty stagnant. But here's another thing that's interesting. On the west side of town, and west is west of the 15, went up almost 5% in rentals, and east side
For availability?
For availability.
Okay.
And the east side went down 5.7%.
People just moved across the street.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would assume it all would
Rent's
go up.
cheaper on the
stuff.
east side.
Yeah, the west side. There's some good rental units. We get a few blocks away from the strip, but it's a good area, so that makes sense.
And for those of you who are interested in sale prices, just because you like numbers, single family residence, the highest one in the market right now is $32.5 million.
Oh, nice. That's reasonable.
Yeah. I could just put my house up.
Townhomes is $1.6 million, and condos is $2.8 million.
So
That's
the 32 million one?
Yeah, I didn't look at it.
I did. So it's in Henderson, dude. This thing is
Is that the white one?
It's off the charts.
Is
Like
that
the guy,
hill?
the owner of it owns, like, what was it? Some insurance. He basically owned like an insurance company or something like that.
Allstate.
Monopolied in that, and then he created like a whole training course that like different insurance agents can.
So he has value.
But
He has
dude,
value.
dude. I mean, this guy's like, I think one year he made like 28 million in a year and da da da. But this house is phenomenal.
Maybe we should
It's
start.
in
You did
Henderson.
an extensive background check on this guy.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did a whole thing on it because I'm like,
Social is-
of course, I'm like, who the hell can live in a house? Like,
Does he
don't
buy-
you ever wonder, like, what do these people do for a living?
All right.
that they're
Did
living
his did his company by chance sell home insurance? Was that what he was?
No.
doing? Talking about get screwed
Yeah.
over that thing.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's an amazing house. Go online and look at it.
What does
It's-
the maintenance
it's
on
freaking
a $30
crazy.
million home look like every year? Like,
What's
is
the
it-
maintenance on it?
Yeah, what do you think that looks like?
I don't know, but you can afford it.
A year?
Like, I don't even
Man,
know.
it's got to be probably 50,000, 100,000 minimum.
Like, just in
I-
light bulbs and
I will
cleaning
take
crews or
it.
what? Like,
I will take the time to learn that knowledge when I buy a $32 million house.
like, I'll let you know. I'll let you know how
I'll
much
let
it
you
costs.
know.
So let's go back
In
to
the
Rick.
meanwhile, who wants to call me for some business?
Yeah, let's talk to Rick real quick. So, Rick, on the rental side of it, landlords, are you starting to see a decline in landlords wanting to buy, mom and pop trying to buy into investment properties because they're having issues, obviously, with tenants and things? I think that's starting to kind of go away a little bit. But are you seeing a decline or maybe a less amount of people contacting your property management to see if you can represent them?
There's more people that are contacting us to see if we can represent them, not less.
Not less.
So,
Okay.
Not less.
And so what do you think is the reason of why that's happening right now? Is it because people are looking for a good property manager because they're just
French workbench.
right?
Obviously.
The Dan Frank
Obviously.
Right. No, but I mean it's true though, right? I mean, so you're getting an influx, but I'm saying in general in the market itself, right? Is there more people looking for property managers that are good or quality, or are they just out? They're also just like first-time home buyers. They're like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait it out.
I think the landscape for owning a rental right now might be a little uncertain, and I definitely would want somebody who knows what the hell they're doing in that city to be in charge of that.
Yeah.
Especially
So
right now of all times.
Well, I think Rick definitely knows what he's doing.
It's-
Right. What do you think?
And if not, he'll mess you up, dude.
No. It's-
25-inch guns, bro.
Yeah, it seems to me that there's, again, slight percentage change. We're getting more calls from owners that are looking to come with us. All right,
Getting more calls.
getting more calls
So
as opposed to 3 months ago, 6 months ago. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the eviction moratorium is ending. We get a lot of calls, not a lot, but we get more calls on owners going, okay, I hear that it's ending. How can I get rid of this person?
Well,
so
and to your point, because I've heard a lot of people say no, it had no effect on me personally, but I mean, I got like 6 or 7 calls during that time, just from random people that not have a property manager, own their home, and like, I need to get this person out. He hasn't paid rent in a month, a year and a half, and I say you can spend $10,000 to bring him to court, and it's not very likely we'll win. Other than that, you know, because you'd have to prove that thing that they wouldn't have affected by COVID, and I just think it did have a real effect on the investment market.
It did. And here's, I saw an interesting thing, and I forgot to bring the picture. So this is still in New York. Remember, we discussed that New York still has both intact. So I saw in the news, this owner went out. He's so freaking frustrated. He goes on top of his own building. He spray paints over the entire roof, first names of the 2 tenants, and how much they freaking owe me. It was like $11.5 thousand. Haven't paid. And so, of course, he gets on the news. Well, it turns out he's done this on 2 or 3 properties. He's
just like tagging them.
Yeah, he's tagging his own property,
right?
Which it's not against the law.
It's like public shaming.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
But I think the point he was trying to make is that it's gone on more than too long, and he's just at his wit's end, is because he can't do anything. And it's not that the tenants are bad. He said that. Love the tenants, love this, love that, but the government is impeding homeowners.
And the thing about it is, like, you're going to do that, you got to pay for that. That should just be a principle. Like, the government, I mean, if you're going to interfere with contract like that, fine, you have a good reason. Why aren't you issuing checks? Right, to keep the, you know, it's like you took something, pay for it.
So we talked about that last week.
Because you have money and you're evil.
And a lot of it has to do.
That's not true.
I know it's not, but that's how it's looked at.
Yeah.
So let's be honest.
I mean, I felt like it's honestly heartbreaking when they're like, "I'm losing this much money."
I know.
I'm like,
dude,
I don't have a solution.
Most
for
people
you.
who own rentals don't own hundreds of millions of dollars in rentals.
It's small. It's a small business. Real
Yeah,
business.
dude,
That's what it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, and they call and when they call it need legal help, right? Because you're looking at what are you taking back on a house that doesn't have a mortgage for the rental, right? So.
I mean, it's probably case by case.
Yeah, but on average, let's say the rental's like $1,000. Keep it simple, paid off. I mean, how much of that goes into property management fees? How much of that goes into maintenance, long term, HOA, all that type of stuff?
Taxes.
Yeah, so there's not a huge margin even for a paid off property, right? And now you're saying eat all that and keep the property in good repair, which was another interesting point, because in a landlord-tenant situation, as you know, the landlord has an obligation
and keep a condition.
to keep things, and it's like, I'm not, how did this get flipped?
Yes.
It's like
I'm maintaining.
It's like I'm renting from you.
Yeah.
Totally reversed.
Not only am I not making money, I'm paying money.
So
wait, that's not a good investment.
Yeah, anyhow, I didn't mean to go on a rant there, but it's just kind of like.
And hence them selling.
Yeah.
So, but you are seeing
Don't
an
blame
uptick in calls. What about new calls that are coming in? Are they saying, like, they asking you specifically about? I read that opinion, by the way, the whole thing on the Supreme Court, and I thought it was interesting. But they're asking you things about, you know, do you think it's going to come back? What if this happens in the future? Obviously, we're still in another Delta.
Nobody's asking that.
Am I boring you, Preston?
No, nobody's asking.
Preston eats this stuff up.
Nobody's asking that.
Eats it for breakfast.
They're just glad that they're out of whatever the current situation is, and if they can get out from underneath it, they're just trucking elated.
It's a headache off them.
Yes.
man.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. What was interesting about that, I'll just briefly say this, because I read that opinion. I don't know if you guys care, but what it said was when the CDC issued like their order, that they had power under the statute they were created. So legal technically here, and the Supreme Court's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's obviously, you don't have any power. Now it was split like it always is. Here's my point. That order mirrors the orders that are coming out from Governor Sisolak. I think very similar. And it really poses a question whether any of this stuff can be held up in court over the long term. But again, when you have making $500 off an investment property, you don't have $40,000 to throw into legal fees. Anyhow, I don't know if I lost Preston there again, but I was just trying to make a
Preston,
point.
what do you got to say about that?
I'm just.
wake up, dude. Wake up.
It's just more of the same. Like I feel like it's just.
I would say
I feel like I've just been hearing this.
it
for a long
doesn't
time.
really matter if they have legal rights or not down the road. Because
That's my point, because-
by the time we get to that point, they've already lost their shit.
They've lost their shit.
I mean,
and
let's just be honest.
It's like,
you know?
well, my point is, if you're only making $20,000 a year, which
Yeah.
is good, right? It's good for an investment. Mm-hmm. And I say, yeah, I can get that tenant out for $40,000 in a year. In the meantime, he's not paying. This is what happens. You
Yep.
get stuck in a bind.
It's just be like, here, I'll just give you my house.
That's well,
Yeah.
You know,
And
hey,
you-
Here's
Yep,
my asset.
absolutely.
that's why they're pushing, trying to get the whole federal program and getting the rents to the owners. And the bottleneck there was the tenant. The tenants weren't going in and actually. This is what the tenants know. Oh, I don't have to pay. Oh, that's cool. Even though that they have all this
Yeah.
all this money
And
coming
by the
in.
way, I know I've got calls from people who definitely had money and then get,
yeah.
demand letters to pay and they try, how do I not pay this because of COVID?
Yes.
And that's more than one. And if it's just me, it's not just
No.
me.
Oh, I know.
It-
It is
it-
because of COVID.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So the point being is that now what I brought up last week is that the Justice Court here in town, and when you file, owners now have a way of pushing the button. And basically, if you're an owner and you want to get paid, file on the people, and then in the middle of the filing, select mediation. And if you select mediation, that allows the mediator to step in and start the process of you getting your CHAPS payment for $10,000,
That's
$11,000, or
excellent.
$12,000.
Excellent advice, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me say this. There's been a lot of information out there recently that there's been confliction between you got tenant and landlord, especially with, let's say you're a property manager, right, and you're representing the landlord. Your rents go up, or you're now saying, hey, I need to get paid, or that we're trying to get paid on some of these things. You've seen this in Las Vegas recently, right, where there's some issues that I've seen in the news where landlords and tenants are having issues with them not paying. Is that something that you go through with your people as far as, issues where they haven't paid or they're having trouble paying? Or
The tenants?
Yeah, the tenants.
Yeah.
I think that's
of
what
course.
that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Well, let me explain. But let me explain. So what do you do in that situation?
Dummy.
Well,
That's what we were just talking about,
Up until 2 days ago, you basically sat on your hands. There wasn't anything you could do, and that's being facetious because we've been able for months to be able to evict on many different scenarios other than rent. So lease violations, 30-day no cause when they're up to date, things of that nature. You've still been able to do that.
And lease expirations too, right? Like
Well, not just because most lease expirations they go month to month,
yeah.
so no. But
Until they give you those keys,
yeah,
you got problems if they choose
if
not
it goes
to
month
leave.
to month, you just go, okay, this is your last month.
Yeah, that's the point.
as
That-
long
there
as
was a stay.
up to that point,
Right.
as long as they were paid up to date. Okay, if they weren't paid up to
Yeah,
date,
yeah,
even if it was
yeah,
month
yeah,
to month, you couldn't
yeah,
do anything.
Yeah, and that part too. That only if they pay you can you then evict them.
Yes.
If they don't pay you, then you can't evict them.
What?
Makes sense.
What do you say?
See, and
that's how it works.
See, and that's
No,
why-
listen, it's the government.
It's
It makes
backwards.
sense.
It's backwards.
It's the government. It makes
well,
sense if you
what
think
they're
about it.
trying to say is like
think about
It's the government.
what they
Just don't think about it.
Yeah. There is some logic there because what they're trying to say is like if we're all good people until the truth, and if then you of course wouldn't pay the rent because there's no other
We're all good
reason
people.
why you
No.
would withhold
We're all
rent.
good people
Yes.
until the truth. I love
Yes.
that's my new quote.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then the legal industry wouldn't exist because there'd be no need for it. But we're not talking about that. Anyhow, continuing.
Well, I was looking for
You'll never,
stories.
so in other words, you'll never
that
be out
you've
of
dealt
business.
with
Yeah.
personally
Hey, I
about
make
your
money out of
about your
people's
property
mistakes.
management. Like what stories have you guys or that you guys have gone through that you've had
Okay.
to go through to get somebody out or dealing with that is what I was going towards.
Okay.
Sorry,
for,
Dan.
For the most part, status quo on all those things that I mentioned that we've been able to do up until this time. No stories that are unusual. Okay.
Sure.
The only thing that I've got, and my wife works with me. which
So she's on the team, huh?
she's on the team. She handles the accounting and she handles
Has she been working with you the entire time?
So she's the brains and you're the muscle.
yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I love to
pretty
hear
much.
that.
It's a good duel.
Because I always hear people like married, they go, "Oh, I can't
got
work
their
with
system
them. I
worked
can't
out."
be in the same room." I'm like,
No, we've got our
just quit bitching and get it
we-
done.
We got our like 45th wedding anniversary coming up on, believe it or not, September 11th.
Good for you,
Oh,
man.
congrats,
Congratulations.
My buddy's got
Congrats.
that.
And she sits like right there. So, you know, I can't get away
She's
with
the brains, you're the muscle.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can't get away with
the
anything.
enforcer.
But every once in a
away with
while,
anything.
in the past couple of weeks, I'll hear her all of a sudden. I've got a yippee coming out of her mouth, and she'll be, you know, she'll get a $10,000 chaps check.
There you go.
That we've been waiting for like 3 months. So
I've been waiting for
You
it.
get interest
So
on that, right?
Yeah, right. So nobody gets any interest on it. So anyway, but the point to this is that they're coming in faster. So the government is catching up. Okay, and
Bullshit.
no, they are. They are.
Yeah,
They are catching up. It's just it's taking a long
it's
time.
flipping. We're gonna have student loans come back, and
They went from worse to bad.
you didn't. I mean, you knew you didn't have to pay student loans the last 2 years. Now they're like, you have to pay it again in February.
Yeah.
The
And
notice
then,
is, this is the last time that this is happening.
Yeah.
That's what I said in the email.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah,
That's
it was
what
a big
happened.
deal. I still have some. I'm not happy about it. But it was no way you were going to pay it when there was 0% interest. They asked me to pay it more when it was 0% interest. I'm like,
Do you know what I did?
financially, that makes zero sense.
I invested the
Like,
money
why-
instead. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Anyhow,
can pay off
I'm
my
getting
student
off.
loans
My
now, so
point
that's
is,
even better.
and they're hitting us with new tax bills to like hike the taxes because they've created an inflationary problem. Now we got to fix it, which is kind of just odd to me. That here's a bunch of money, give it back. 8 months later, when you already spent it, and now I'm gonna put you into debt.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Keynesian.
What did you think was going to happen?
Well, so you haven't had
I knew
any
it had
real
to happen,
issues like these, like you see, because we see it a lot. I've seen it all over on news channels. You haven't had real issues though, like internally with your company with tenants. I guess it's like stories or anything. Nothing real big, because I see some stuff that's gone on that.
like asking,
Okay,
like,
so here are the stories. A whole bunch of tenants in the beginning didn't pay a lot of money. Some tenants got up between $20 and $30,000 owed.
Right.
All right. And then
see, that's what we want to know. I mean, it's just what is really happening.
and how
with
many?
this?
How many? Again, tell us again how many properties you manage.
600.
over between 500 and 600.
So what percentage do you think got default in that 1.5-year period? If you had an
Oh
estimate.
man, remember she's the one that does the evictions, but
Give us a round number. Give us a rough number.
well,
Just an idea.
it started off that there were a whole bunch of people that didn't know, about 30%. Okay, 30% stopped paying. 70%.
Wow.
70% kept paying, but
That doesn't surprise me, by the way, because people said 5 or 10. I've heard from other sources. I'm like, there's no way that's right. So I think this is you're dead on about.
yeah,
Sorry, continue.
It's about 30%. Well, that's gotten down now to where I think she has about 10 people, 10 out of the 550.
And that's probably a reasonable rate.
No, that's good, man.
Yeah, that's
really
really
good.
good. That's really good.
what,
And that's-
2%?
Yeah, and that's
1%?
because
You were able to collect on
Yeah,
those?
we've been able to collect on everybody else.
You asked how I did. What did you do? Just collection company efforts, or what did you do? Just
No,
curious.
the CHAPS payments, and then
Okay, gotcha.
no, this was the funny part. So, to your point, you have people that were trying to get out of the evictions, yet they were spending money on brand new cars, went through the roof, so on and so forth. When they were getting all of these unemployment checks and whatnot.
That's what I was going towards.
dude.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this eviction process has gone on and off again 2 or 3 times. All right, and here in Nevada. And the very first time that it was the moratorium's ending in, and I'm making this up because my brain isn't that good. So let's say the May 31st. It's going to be done on May 31st. Well, guess what? About the 29th and 30th, 5 to 10 of these people came in and brought in like $4,000 and $5,000 checks at that time in order to catch up.
I see.
All right, and then on the 1st they go, no, we're going to continue the moratorium.
Well, it's just because.
And then it comes to the next one,
Well,
and the
playing the
same
game.
thing happens. And then
know.
several people came in and they paid $7,000 to $8,000.
And I'll make the point again. It's because everybody's great and honest. They just didn't get that $8,000 check until that day. I mean, that's just obviously.
Yeah. Well, guess
what
what?
happened?
They weren't.
Come on, I'm sick of the BS.
They weren't
dancing
getting
around it.
First of all, they weren't getting the checks except for their unemployment. And then, so now it's gotten to the point where I've been telling you that we as owners, representing the owners, have to push the button. There were, let me be honest, there were many tenants that actually went out and did it on their own. So don't get me wrong. But there are more tenants that you had to push into doing it in order to make it happen. And now we're starting to get those chaps payments.
I'm going to go on a little rant here because honestly, the calls I got too, I'm not even lying. Like, it's heartbreaking, right? Because I'm like, I want to help you, but this is not going to, on numbers in court, it's just not going to pay off, right?
Yeah.
If you try to do something. And then to hear, like, if you tried to make that point at all, like, oh, you're just trying to throw people on the street or you don't care. I'm like, that is total BS. Yeah. I'm sorry. Trust me, the ones that are in that position, there is no way you could evict them because their case would be obvious.
Yeah.
So you're saying those 10 obviously have not abused it, but they used the situation because they weren't paying, but then they just randomly came in your office one day or like right before they were going to be potentially evicted. Here's the check, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess.
Miraculously.
Well, listen, at least it's a low number. I mean, you see other places that just don't have people, and they got to go through,
but
getting evicted.
Your units are owned privately, right?
Yes.
So it's not like they own all the units. The ones that aren't paying the 30%, that's one person owning
Yeah,
that
it could
unit.
be 100% of someone's unit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
100%.
you ask that person,
Almost
it's like
always
all
is.
of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Somebody else is like, oh, I didn't
They
even know.
have
I've
one
been all the
house.
time.
They have one house. They're one investment.
Yeah.
And they don't get any money for a year and a half.
And they're housing somebody else.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
That's what I'm saying. Those
And
are,
they're-
yeah.
So
And
what's
then
the
they're-
average of person like or investor
for
that you work with
appreciation.
like 10 plus properties, like, or let's just say a property manager in general? Like, do you have a lot of those people out there, those mom and pops that are actually 10 plus in investments?
10 plus, no. Do we have them? Sure. They're a fairly small percentage. I would say 5%.
Okay.
At 10 plus, you should just be in commercial at that.
That's what I was going to say.
How are
you
you,
know?
mom and pop?
Well,
Hey, I've done a
10.
loan. I've done a loan where somebody had 22 properties.
No, that's reasonable.
No kidding.
No joke.
no.
I mean, this is,
Yeah.
we have
people do
several
that. I
owners
just don't
that
see the
own
point.
20 plus.
now it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but
I don't see why
But
you'd
it-
want to own single.
But it
family
isn't
homes
a
in that.
lot of work. The reason that it's not a lot of work is
Property
because they have a property manager.
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. Right.
Because they hire someone to take care of all out
The
of
the
work.
largest single, the person that had the most units with us at one time had 100. I think it was 118.
Yeah.
And he had seconds on all
Were
of them.
were
and he had
they
to
just single family residents or were they multi units or
both.
Okay.
They were both.
how many do you
With-
have?
with-
100?
Like 116 units, and with the largest building being like an 8-plex.
Wow.
So, and
Then
they were
just buy a
all.
goddamn apartment
Listen,
complex.
this is where they were, all behind the stratosphere.
Of course. Why not just buy an apartment?
Nice
complex?
little nest egg for retirement.
Because, well, that's what I said. He
Damn.
had second trust deeds on all of these.
Wow.
And they all stopped paying because it was part of a group. So a group of investors that had all these properties, and the group decided, no, we're not going to pay anymore. And they
Yeah,
milked
yeah,
it. They didn't pay the water bills. They didn't pay anything.
And he had 116 units, what you said?
Yeah, and so he foreclosed on all of them, and we happened to have
And-
our office there and down in that area, and he just hired us to handle it.
And what you're describing is, I mean, what Rick's describing here is the logistics and how housing becomes available, in this city, in this country, or whatnot. I saw something in the news the other day that said, like, some person was protesting and saying housing should be a human right. I don't disagree. I agree with that. But here's the
don't
thing:
agree.
how do you create housing? How do you create? Well, here's my point: how do you create housing?
Somebody's
You
got to work.
incentivize people to create housing. You don't
Swing a hammer.
decentivize them. What I'm saying is there's no way you don't put more people in that camp because as investors say, look, this market's too expensive. It's too much of a problem. I'm out. Guess what? Supply contracts. It's really frustrating, I guess my point is, to see some that they're causing the same problem that they now turn around and trying to fix by manipulating the market.
Well, those
If
are
that makes
people
sense.
that use excuses their whole lives to not.
Let's
really
segue to a
get or
different
do
topic here because we are running out of time.
I'm
But
sorry.
I want to answer what Michael Stallworth said here. He said 60 days for landlords and 30 days notice for rentals. Is that correct? And I'm going to ask you that.
Wait,
He's saying
context?
60 days for landlords and a 30-day notice for renter. Correct?
For what?
for what?
With a month to month?
Within a month, he said. So I'm thinking
For,
as far
for,
as
for
I think to
doing
evict,
for,
right?
for,
To evict.
for
To
doing
evict.
what?
to evict.
to do
evict.
notice of eviction. I think it's
Notice of evictions are 7-day pay or quits if it's on money. So the entire process takes, with the way things are bogged down in the courts now and going to be really bogged down, it's probably closer to 3 weeks to a month to get somebody out.
I think the question though is like if it's on a month to month, you have
It
to
doesn't
give them
matter.
30 days.
Yeah, so if like he's in a month to month, is it the same basically?
Yeah,
You know, if
it doesn't matter.
because what-
it doesn't matter
what
the
Rick's
term.
saying-
Doesn't matter the term of the lease.
You obviously can't get a 7-day notice.
Hold on, how can it not matter the term of the lease?
Because he hasn't paid. We're talking about
You're talking about
non-payment of
money's
rent.
owed.
Money's
Money's
owed.
owed.
Yeah, you
period.
only you only do a 7-day notice if they're in default. So his
Right.
question
Of
is
rent.
month to month.
Money.
Well, if they went to month and they paid the 13th month, there's no way a notice of default's going to happen until 30 days after that. So to answer his question, if it's paid, then obviously you wouldn't do a notice until like the next payment becomes in default.
Correct.
I think that's where the confusion is about.
Yeah. So that's how long it takes to get one out. Now they just changed the law on notices as far as your rent increases. It used to be 45 days. Last week they also increased that to 60 days. So which I think is a good thing. You know, 45 days, when you really think about it, that's pretty short term to bump somebody. If you're going to do a hefty bump on them, 60 days, okay, I get it. The only problem that I, as a property manager, have is if we keep going down this path, then the farther down the path we go, the worse it is for investors that aren't going to be investing. And if they don't invest, then the rentals, you're not going to be able to find a place if that's where you're at.
That's exactly what my point is.
You know, and that's one of the reasons that I'm always after the association and whatnot, because they want to do all this stuff for take money for the legal end of it. But I never.
Oh, dude, that's a joke when they request us for our dues.
Yeah, and
I never pay that.
I never pay that.
Kiss my ass.
Because
To pay what?
Because
They want. Here you go.
because as far as property managers,
When you go to pay your realtor fees and stuff?
because as far as property managers are concerned,
Association.
Yeah.
they're always behind the wheel. They're always playing defense.
I know.
And they're never playing offense. I
know.
mean, why is it a 7-day pay? We went from 5 to 7. Why didn't it go from 5 to 3?
Yeah.
Why is it a 30-day
So,
no cause?
like,
Why can't it be a 15-day
It's like it's
no
like paying a
cause?
union that doesn't represent you.
Correct.
That's why I don't do
That's-
it right there.
that's
First
the way
time I
it
joined a
is.
realtor association, I was like, dude, this is what this bracket's about.
Oh, I got you.
I mean, it's like you're paying for it. You're basically is your real estate agent a realtor? All that means is you're basically joined an association.
Yeah.
A club.
But
you
in
joined a club.
Yeah, right. You joined. So you joined a union that doesn't represent you.
But you get
That
some
represents
stickers.
everyone else first, but you.
Well, let's
I'm
go.
just saying.
Let's move to a different topic because like I said, we're running out of time. So we
thanks,
can
Rick.
sit on
That
this the whole
was,
time. Rick, yeah, we
that was
appreciate all the
great.
information,
Real
man.
insight.
Yeah. So let's talk with Bret. We're going to talk with a lot about what's going on with crypto. Let's get into the housing market first, though. Bret, give us a rundown of like what you see out there with days on the market. What's the average price point? Just this is rough.
Yeah,
And
I mean, everything's about the same that it has been as last week. Maybe a few more homes on the market. I didn't run the thing before I got here today, but probably not that much more. Same issues. Like I said, the change that I have seen a little bit is that homes before, and we're talking probably above 450, maybe 500 to 900 million, somewhere around there, is you saw for this whole past year, coming in through the summer and everything, even homes that really weren't worthy of it were getting multiple offers and going over list. So the homes that are still worthy of it and still, have the pool, great condition, great neighborhood, those are still commanding multiple offers, although maybe not 15 or 20, maybe more like 3 or 4. But the other ones that should never have multiple offers in the first place aren't receiving multiple offers.
So look, you
so
went through
they're sitting there a little bit longer. So
You went through a situation recently where there was a cancellation due to an appraisal. What went through that process with you? Like, what happened during that transaction? I know it's like, well, you do comps pretty well, but sometimes the appraisal comes in low. What is going on with? Are they willing?
Well,
to
I mean, the appraisal came in really low on it. So, and there's nothing you can do because they always say you can challenge an appraisal, but so you're asking someone to go against themselves and against their. I mean, who's going to do that?
Right.
Oh well, will you reconsider that you're wrong? I most certainly will not. Basically, so
what happened with that?
We got in
situation,
contract. They were paying over list price, and they knew that, and they
Okay.
were willing to bring in the difference. But the appraisal came in so much lower that difference now was just completely outrageous. And we're still within our buyer's loan contingency period. So even though we wrote the offer and the offer was not contingent on appraisal, we still had our loan contingency. So we used the denial letter, because now they can't get a loan because it's too much for them to bring in.
What's that break off, you think, now, if it comes in too low? Like, is it 10,000, 20,000? Like, what? Obviously, this break off was
we
like 20 grand
we were
off,
in a
right?
difference of about 20 grand.
Okay.
They should have came in about 20 grand higher, which made all the world of difference because we were at like a $500,000 price point. The long and short of it is, my buyer ended up canceling. We moved on. We're still looking. Moved on to something else. And listen, that listing agent put it back on the market that night, and the next day received an offer for the same price that we were in, and said, we'll waive everything cash.
So you took this client, you slammed her and put her into a new home. Was that process easy, right? I know there's a waiting list. Like, how did you go into the process of saying,
It was a smaller builder.
Okay.
So if you're going to like D.R. Horton or some of these top national builders, the competition's a lot heavier. You're all this stuff. So this builder was even paying commissions and everything.
Right.
But they're a smaller builder. They're like a storybook, okay, where they just take these little niches of a few acre lots that are left. And this one was off of Russell and Sunset, I think.
Okay.
Over by Russell, is that correct? Russell and Sunset.
Russell and Sunset. I think they run parallel, don't they?
I'm sorry, Sunset and Durango. My bad.
That's all right.
So all that area has been developed, but there's still these little niches that are kind of by So
I'm sorry, just don't let it happen again, though.
yeah,
Continue.
Yeah, I know. So that's the long and short on that one. Is it was a smaller builder that was still selling like everyone else. They just didn't have the demand because they're not they're not surrounded by all new communities, because they build these in communities that have been there for a bit.
So this person, we're not going to say who it is, but obviously were they already living here in Vegas, or was this an outside buyer?
Yeah, they're living here in Vegas.
Okay, what about the outside buyers? Are you dealing with them right now? As far as, is there still a huge influx of outside buyers?
Yeah, but I've had all my out-of-state buyers right now kind of put a hold on everything.
Okay,
they're all cash. They're all in high price points, and I say like between 7 to 1.5, and they just simply are like, I'm not dealing with this shit in this market. These builders are crazy. The market's crazy. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to get a home for $100 grand cheaper down the road, but what I am saying, I'm not dealing with all this multiple bids and offers and all this stuff. It's just a house.
Talked to somebody.
Another one will come on the market someday.
I talked to somebody just last week who was planning to retire here, and then they went through that 2-week process, and they're over it.
They're older,
mind.
they're established, they have
Never
money.
mind.
They don't play games like that. They're like, I want to make my life simpler.
Are you guys all seeing that there's more months on the supply on the increasing here? I know it's I think it was 1.2. Are you guys seeing more properties come on the market?
How do you look that up? We should be able to look that
Look
up.
up right now. Well, I mean, I think. Go ahead.
No, again, like I said, last week, a number of properties, only 0.8% came up, so less than 1% increase. So, no, it's not expanding.
We should have 3 to 6
fast.
months, and we have a month, if even. And that hasn't changed. It's even gotten worse the past year.
Yeah. Well, I still feel like it's increasing, right? It did. And look, even if it's a small increase, it's better than a decrease. So,
correct.
I mean, I'm going to be positive about there's more properties coming out. And hopefully I don't know when we're going to get to that 3 to 6 month supply.
Don't interpret as
for the city, it went up 36 properties for the city.
That's
how many
properties? That's better though than going
36.
the other direction. Man.
I understand, Dan, but we're in a city of like 3 million.
No, just 36 properties available.
Came available. Yeah. Okay. So how many properties are on the
technically
are available on average every month, or like in July or August? Do you have that information?
Total was around 4,600.
4,600. Okay.
For
So
sale.
they said they're building 11,000 estimated more this year would open up. So yeah, no, we're not going to get to that.
But then you've got
60%.
the demand of people that have moved here too.
Yeah, that's my point.
I'm saying. Is
I'm comparing. I'm comparing what's being available.
Yeah.
And then what's adding
that's what I'm
on to
saying.
that.
Not nearly as much as coming out for what's.
That's only an extra 1,000 a month or something.
So Bret brought up something that I'm curious if this is going to be a trend or a problem or whatever. You have the appraiser going out there, and for those of you again who are listening, don't know, appraisal is just an opinion.
We had the appraisal guy on earlier.
It's an opinion. So if the appraisal came in that much lower, Do you think that there's a trend there in order to help keep pricing, help keeping mortgage prices down?
Well, before you answer that, let me make a point about that and what you mean by trend. I dealt with hundreds and hundreds of litigation cases regarding dispute to properties, right, between the banks and these buyers of HOA properties. I don't know if you encountered that. Here's the point I want to make. When you do a civil case, you can introduce evidence, right? And one thing you can do, is I'm sure, is introduce expert testimony, which an appraiser would be that, because you need an estimate on what the price is. When I worked for the bank, we needed the price to be high for our case. That was part of the case. So let's say you had something on Zillow, whatever. I know Zillow's not accurate, but it said $300,000. He's probably coming back and saying it's $360,000. The other side hires their own appraiser, and he probably comes back $80,000, $70,000. They have all their these are appraisers that work in the profession. They're getting paid for their opinion and their skewed opinion. They can manipulate it easily. It doesn't matter. It's literally, I've got a license and I can do something. Anyhow, so as far as that, because you were asking the question, are they doing something intentionally? I don't know, but they could easily do so if they wanted to.
My experience is no.
Nobody regulates that, by the way, either.
Yeah. So my experience is no. I just think that it's the luck of the draw right now, because let me give you an example. I had a listing earlier this year, and we put it on the market for $440, and the buyer got into contract, and their appraisal came back at $405. We put it back on the market, got an accepted offer. The new buyer had an appraisal, which was within 3 weeks of the last appraisal, because it was a new lender, and we appraised at $430.
Is that because it went up?
That's
No, it's just
25
opinion.
grand in 3 weeks.
That's just
It was
opinion.
the same. Yeah, it was the same.
It was frustrating. They all have to make that opinion.
So that's what I'm saying is you literally.
Well, and you would think to make that opinion that you would have to meet certain criteria, right? Like, I have to look at this house, take an average. That way, if somebody ever reviewed what you did, they could say, yes, that's correct.
In
But
appraisers,
they don't do that. They don't do that. Like, what is going on?
The have to is where you're getting your problem. They can take whatever houses that they want to
That's
take
my point, exactly.
and use those.
That's what they're using for their evidence.
What there
Yes.
should be is a statute that says you must
You
look
can't.
at this.
You can't do that.
So then what are you going to argue?
Yeah.
They've proven what they feel is their information. And it's one of those informations where I guess you can make a case that way, but I can make a case this way, but it
But
doesn't
no,
matter.
I'm saying certain.
They're going to go.
It's more complicated. But
So,
anyhow,
so do people arbitrate that?
What's that?
you can't. That's the point.
You
can't?
well, you can, but what
you
I'm saying is,
but the fact that you need to reverse the problem, they created all on their own.
so let me give you an
So
example
how
of
does
how that
that-
appraisal on the last one.
how does that work?
The next day was the loan contingency was up.
Oh.
Right? So in order to challenge that appraisal would have took 7 to 10 days.
Sure.
By the time we find out, and which is probably going to come back roughly around the same, if up maybe
No, they're
a
not
little
gonna-
bit.
I mean, you'd have to
then,
do something
Then now
so-
we're out of the due diligence
You
period,
would-
and the buyer's going to lose their earnest money.
It would have to be so
I advise them to
blatantly
get the hell out of Dodge.
wrong. Like, just that's the only way an arbitrator or an appeal is going to change it. Because
Well,
there's
you're asking someone to go against themselves.
yeah,
and they're not going
they're
to.
producing
just
the
in my
evi-
experience.
They're producing the evidence they need. It's like,
Yeah.
did you lie? No. Okay.
yeah.
So look, let's go back. Let's talk about this. So the consumer,
exactly.
the consumer confidence in buying a home right now with you, Brett, and with you and anybody else that's dealing with people. Do you feel that the consumers right now have either been encouraged or discouraged by this market? Like, are you starting to see encouragement that people are back, maybe starting to get back into a home? I know it's school, kids go back to school. Maybe people are taking vacations.
I found that buyers below 500 are still going strong as ever, and still very much want a house and are still trying to get a house. And the people maybe in a higher price point that are cash, just like, hey man, I'm cool, just chilling until they're gonna buy.
Yeah.
They're gonna buy from me, and they'll, and we have a great relationship and all that stuff. It's just
What about you, Ricky? What do you see
they
out
don't,
there?
Well, I don't see much change, but then again, historically, as you get towards the holidays, everything slows down in real estate. In fact, some of the smaller offices, they just freaking close up for 2 weeks, and the reason being is it just slows down. People's focus change. They change to family and holidays, and
they don't want to be moving.
Traveling with kids.
They don't want to be moving, and
dogs
so
is hard enough. Much
after
less
after the first of the year, it
moving.
always picks up again.
All right, so finishing up the situation here with the Vegas update, which I appreciate you giving us the Las Vegas update on this housing situation.
Can we have a bell next time?
Yeah, let's get a bell for
that
Bret.
way. If Preston's talking too much, interrupt him. Ding 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 ding.
Right. So let's talk about this. Let's go ahead and move over to talking about cryptocurrency. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about really what Bret is seeing out there and where things are going. What is that, Bret? What do you?
We can talk about that next week.
Oh, you got to go.
We all got to go.
Oh, okay. You don't want to talk about crypto?
I mean,
I think
I do,
it's-
but
yeah,
I mean,
think we gotta post
dude,
on.
All right, we'll
We're
talk
gonna do
about it
this
next
now?
week. Yeah, we can talk about it. We'll do it next week. So you guys, thank you so much for
Hype
tuning
for
in.
next one.
We'll be back here on Tuesday, and we got a full studio, a full cast coming
sorry,
in.
everyone. Got an
Bret.
appointment, man.
Cliffhanger. No.
I mean, no.
I gotta go make money, dude.
Bret just does this like I'm supposed to be a mind reader. Hey, here's my phone. It's like what?
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to.
All right, guys, we'll be back here next on Tuesday. Thank you so much. If you guys have any comments, comment in the comment section. Also, please subscribe if you like this content. We're going to keep putting out more content. And if you guys want us to go over a topic, right? If you want us to talk about a specific topic, put it in the comment section. We'll have some.
Yeah, we got property management.
We got a lot of information. I mean, that we can put out.
Yeah.
A lot of
Ask some
stuff.
questions. We got an attorney.
Yeah.
Ask some questions.
Home insurance.
Home insurance. We
Man.
can talk anything that you guys want to talk. So
Fuck
put those
home
comments.
insurance, man.
You seem a little
Lazy
upset with
bums.
that, right?
It doesn't do anything.
I know you love insurance companies.
I hate them all.
Title
At least you
insurance.
can make money off them.
Except for my client insurance.
Well, let's end this show, guys. So anyways, like I said, we're also streaming on all platforms. If you guys have not looked up, we are on TikTok, French Workbench. Also, Dan French is on TikTok. I'm on Twitter. Also,
Podcast is on Apple, right?
Apple iTunes. Yes, it's
you
also
go.
on SoundCloud. So there's a lot of information out there, guys. So please look into that. And we're also going to have more content coming in there, not just from the podcast, but other things. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys at the next stream. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.